All right, so today we're going to be testing out some interesting products. So I have three main products we're going to be testing out here: a black primer, the new Lancome Rose highlight, and this weird ass e.l.f. brush. So, oh, we have a plant in the background today, by the way. Have some green in our lives. This is going to be a first impression video, so I am doing check-ins throughout the day to see how everything wears. If you're excited for this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, you can join the Bayrito family and subscribe. I upload Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Let's do this. If you want to see how these three products apply and wear throughout the day, you're in the right place. Just keep watching. All right, skin. So I've already washed and moisturized my face. One of the crazy products that we are trying out today is a black primer, literally black. I have been slightly stressed with the amount of filming I have to do in the next couple weeks, hence how we have a new planet formation on my forehead right now. Someone call National Geographic, because what is this? So the black primer that I'm trying out is the Make Beauty Moonlight Primer. Can't even remember how I found this. I think one of you guys tweeted it to me. I don't know. My stomach just growled. By the way, we're gonna have to take a Postmates break because coffee is on the way. So I had never heard of Make Beauty before, but their packaging is on point. This is like if I were to make a cosmetic line. Ooh, nice. So it's in a glass bottle and it has a pump. I would expect this kind of quality packaging because it retails for $55. You get 1 fluid ounce of product in here, which is pretty standard for primers. My Jouer primer, the Smashbox primers, they all have 1 fluid ounce of product. I just bought this on their website. It has 5-star reviews. Let's see how many people actually reviewed this. Okay, there's 2 reviews. A little bit less promising. So I'm gonna read some of the claims on here because this is a very interesting product. So it says, for the contemporary technology-driven life, science blends with nature in a silicone-free, hydrating gel cream that moisturizes, primes, and mattifies skin as it protects skin from the effects of harmful artificial lights. Hello? Sign me up. From tablets, smartphones, laptops, and iPads, as well as urban pollution. I've been seeing this weird trend in the cosmetic industry lately with urban pollution products. I know Dermalogica also just came out with some products for protecting your skin against pollution. Postmate is here. Pause. Okay, food and caffeine is in my body. I feel like a new woman. So I like the fact that it's supposed to help mattify because I have combination oily skin. It says that it shields against HEV light, high energy visible light, and diminishes the impact of infrared light. Basically from the light that comes from electronic devices, which we are all on. Way too much, I know I am. While also offering vitamin D synthesis, contains a marine algae that protects against pollution and heavy metals, gender neutral. I don't think I've ever heard a cosmetic product claimed to be gender neutral, so that's kind of cool. So it actually says on here that HEV and IR lights have been shown to penetrate the skin more deeply than UVA and UVB rays, which are from the sun. This is cruelty-free, paraben-free, fragrance-free, hypoallergenic, and vegan. It doesn't say anything about why they made this product black in color, but it does say in the ingredients that there's melanin in here. So for those of you who don't know, melanin is basically what gives our skin pigment. So if you have a deeper skin tone, you have more melanin, and if you're more fair, you have less melanin. What I couldn't find is pretty much any information on melanin being added to products. So thank you to Laura on Twitter for finding this article. You guys can pause the screen right now and read all about it if you are curious. But from my understanding, adding melanin in products will not darken your skin tone. It will just protect against UV and HEV light. So, okay, need to work out more. Okay. We're good. So I am going to be wearing this makeup throughout the day. In order to test this primer, I'm only going to use it on one half of my face. In the past, when I've done kind of primer comparisons, I've done 2 different sides, but I kind of want to see if it does anything compared to not using a primer. Whoa, that's so cool. I'm going to apply the primer to this half of my face, my left half. Whoa. Okay, so it feels very, very lightweight. Feels like a serum. Yeah, it feels exactly like a serum. And this is silicone free, which is great if you have acne. This actually feels really nice. Feels really moisturizing going on. You only need a little bit of this. I feel like a little bit kind of goes a long way. Ooh, I like how this is setting. It feels a bit tacky, which I personally like because I feel like my foundation is just gonna stick to it a little bit better. And when you actually blend it out, obviously my face is not black. I don't think it looks dark or anything, so I think that's kind of like a tint of color. I'm curious to see how this wears throughout the day. Pores look pretty much the same on this side, so if you need to fill in your pores, you'd probably have to use a pore filling primer. But just the concept of this, I think is really interesting and different, and it's always cool to see brands coming out with products like this. The next weird product that we are gonna try out is this e.l.f. Beautifully Precise Precision MultiBlender Massager. That is what it's called. It's a brush. So it says you can blend in foundation with this. powder or bronzer flawlessly. What the heck? So we are gonna try to apply, feels firmer than I thought, which is kind of promising. I want to try and apply foundation with this thing. To apply foundation, apply a little to the back of the hand and swirl around with brush. Using back and forth sweeping motions, apply it all over the face. It says that the custom designed triangular handle provides ultimate control while soft, cruelty-free white fiber hairs show exact placement of makeup on the brush for optimal amount of product use for precise and even application. I actually don't like white-haired brush bristles. I think they look really dirty really quick. So I'm not going to apply my foundation to the back of my hand. I'm going to use a palette like I normally do because it just eats up product when you put it on your hand. I was trying to decide what the best foundation to try this out with would be. I was going to use my Pure Bare Doll, which I love, but then I decided that that one I have like a specific way I apply it with a specific primer where it wears best. So I'm going to try this brush with my Tarte Rainforest of the Sea, another favorite foundation. I'm actually going to spot conceal my face first with some Wet n Wild concealer, just so I have to go in with less of the Rainforest of the Sea foundation. By the way, I put a light reflector on my table and it is light changing. It reflects the light back up, so basically there's no more shadow under my neck, so you guys can actually see the correct neck to face color. Did not mean to put concealer on like half my face over here, but it happened. Swirl around with brush and then use back and forth sweeping motions to apply it all over the face. I'm so curious about this. Let me show you guys a close-up of this brush first because this is wild. So here's a close-up of the brush. What are these? These literally look like ski moguls. And here's the handle. It is pretty easy to hold. This is just concealer. We're gonna swirl this in the foundation. Let's try this out. So it looks like most of my moguls are covered. Back and forth motions. Interesting. It feels really nice and soft. The whole back and forth thing is throwing me off because I feel like I'm just rubbing around the product and it's kind of rubbing it away on my cheek area. I just used up that whole amount of product on not even half my face. So that's definitely more than I usually have to use. But sometimes with new brushes for me, no matter what the brush is, I kind of have to get it like coated first or else the product just kind of sinks into the bristles. Let's try the primed side and see if it glides on any different. When you do just back and forth, you don't get as much coverage. How the heck are we gonna do this on my forehead? That is what I wanna know. All right, I'm going in. Okay. This I do not like on the forehead. This is just way too big. Can't really get around your eyebrows or in your hairline at all. Not a fan of this. But to fix off my forehead and go in with technically a second layer, I'm gonna go in with a brush. I mean, look, I literally just squirted out a dime-sized amount and look at how much farther this is going with the brush and the coverage. Like this is gonna cover my whole face. So as far as primed side versus not primed side, it actually feels like this one's blending out a little bit easier. And I do think it's helping to hide some of my dry patches a bit on my forehead. All right, so I'm gonna finish off my face, apply the rest of my makeup, and then we are going to move on to the last weird product, which is the Lancome Rose Powder highlighter. So my eyes are done. I'm going to tell you guys everything I used in a second, but I kind of want to try out this thing for bronzer too, since it says you can use it to contour. So I wiped off as much of the foundation that I can, and it's totally dried down now. So I'm actually going to use part of this to try and contour a bit. So I'm going to go in with my Physicians Formula Bronze Booster, this middle shade. This actually, this might be kind of tricky because this thing doesn't open up all the way, and this brush is pretty big. No, we got this. Should probably use a smaller end, right? Yeah. I'm just gonna get a little bit of product. I have no idea how much that is. I actually can feel the stickiness from the foundation a bit, but I think if this was dry, this would actually be nice for contour. If you can focus most of the product on the smaller part to get in those cheekbones, then you can just kind of use this to blend upwards. Not bad, that totally works to contour. Not bad. I like it for contouring. I'm going to try the wider end of this for bronzer. There's actually not a whole lot of foundation on this part of the brush, so this might be better. And I'm just going to go with my Hourglass bronzer. This stuff is super pigmented, so I'm just like gonna light. Ooh. Nah. Just kidding. Bad idea. Using the Sigma F15 brush. I've been really liking this for bronzer lately. If it didn't apply bronzer well, I don't have super high hopes for this blush, but let's try it. This is the Almay Nude Mauve blush. That works. I don't think I would use this on like a daily basis for blush. I really like this for contour the best. Now onto the thing that I'm so excited about. You guys have probably seen this all over YouTube and Instagram already, but this is the Lancome Lancome. LaRose Powder. It says it's an iridescent blush highlighter. So this is a limited edition product that retails for $60. It's actually selling on eBay for around $130. It has 2.7 stars out of 5 on Lancome's website. So for $60, you get 1.6 grams or 0.056 ounces. 0.056. To give you some reference, my JCat highlight, which I'm currently obsessed with, this rose highlight, has 0.30 ounces of product or 8.5 grams. 1.6 grams, 8.5 grams. MAC Mineralized Skin Finish has 10 grams of product. So for $60, you get cardboard packaging. This is straight up cardboard. The actual product, this rose, is gorgeous. I would have loved to seen a plastic base with maybe like a clear top so you could actually see this rather than a practical highlighter. If you're gonna pay $60 for a limited edition product, I see this more as a collector's item, which I have products like that I buy that I never really use, that I just like to look at. So it would have been really cool if they did kind of a clear top so you could actually sit this on your shelf and see the rose. The amount of money that this actually probably cost Lancome to make between cardboard packaging and such little amount of product is so low that their profit margin on this product is freaking huge. So the other thing that I think is really interesting before we actually put this on my face, so this is literally a fake rose covered in highlight. So I'm just gonna touch one of these petals. This is plastic. It feels like a fake rose that you get at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. You can actually take the entire rose out of this packaging. I'm gonna leave a really interesting video down below. So the Beauty News channel, they do this series called The Makeup Breakup, which is where they basically like destroy products and weigh them just to kind of take apart the whole product. Really interesting. They did a video on this and they actually showed scraping out the product, taking out the rose, rinsing off the rose, and basically underneath it's just a white rose and it's literally just covered in highlight. The actual amount of highlight on this rose fits into an eyeshadow pan, if that gives you any kind of size comparison to what you get with a normal highlight. So here's the description of this product on Lancome's website. It says it combines the spring Parisian pastels with the hot makeup trend on highlighting. Get the latest on-trend glow look through the most elegant and vintage mythology. The powder is evenly dispersed among rose petals inside the bijou box. But let's see how the actual product is. So I'm going to use my Sigma F03 brush that I like to use for highlighting, and I'm just gonna stick it in. I don't know how much product this is gonna pick up. I'm just kind of... Whoa, okay, so it kind of flies out. It is pretty powdery. It's coming out. There goes $2. So on my skin tone, I mean, you can see it. I think it looks really pretty. I've heard very mixed reviews on this things. I've heard it's chalky. I've heard it looks like baby powder. I've heard it's gray. I've heard some people say they love it. I've heard it's more of a subtle highlighter. On me, it's showing up. I was actually expecting it to look a bit more subtle. I don't know if it's just the amount I use. Looking very nice. It's not emphasizing texture or pores a whole lot. It has kind of like a light pink look to it, which I really enjoy. I'm gonna try and use maybe a tiny bit less product on this side and see if it looks a little bit more subtle. Yeah, so you can still see it, but it definitely looks obviously more subtle if you use less product. This side to me just looks like a very natural kind of glow, which I like. Personally, I am not a fan of the blinding, glittery, super intense highlight trend. I do like something with a pop like this when I want that, but on a day-to-day basis, I prefer something where I can just get more of a natural glow where it looks like my skin, and this really does look like my skin. I actually prefer this side using less product to this side, but if you want to build it up, you can get it more intense. I think this might be one of those products that really depends on your skin tone, because on my skin tone, this does not look ashy at all. It has a very nice pink hue to it. Just because I already put this much on this side, I'm just going to add a bit more to this side to even it out. I think it looks really pretty. Kind of shocked. Now, would I pay $60 for it with the amount of product you actually get? Hell no. But like I said, it is more of a collector's item. Lancome made this exact highlight just in a normal size and pan product. I would buy it. So since we are doing a check-in to see how the primer wears throughout the day, right now it is 12:07. I'm gonna call the check-in time 12 o'clock because that's pretty much when I finished up with everything. I would say the foundation's been on since about 11:30. So you guys saw all of my face products. So super quick on my eyes, I use the Milk Makeup eye pigment. These are new. This is in the shade, where's the shade on here? Rager. These actually swatched on my hand way nicer than they applied to the eye. Actually not a fan of this. I think it might be nice to use as a base, but it basically was one of those products that just kind of smeared around and didn't have the same kind of pigment as when you swatch it, and you can't layer it or else it just wipes away. I actually just used this as a base, and then oddly enough, I went in with the J-Cat highlight, and I just press that on top, and that's where I'm really getting the intense shimmer from. And then for lips, I use Kylie Cosmetics Malibu. And in the crease on my eyes, I use the same Physicians Formula contour that I used on my face. Just put that in the crease on my eyes. I just said that. Everything else, earrings, t-shirt, watch, everything is always down below. I usually try and do about 10-hour check-ins at the end of the night. Since it's already 12 o'clock right now, I'm gonna shoot for 10 p.m. Like normal, I'm gonna check in throughout the day so we can see if there's any kind of difference on the two sides. Next check-in I do will be in natural lighting, so I'll see you guys in a few hours. All right, so it's now 4 o'clock. I'm in the office because I was attempting to film a new intro for the next 15 days of foundation, and I totally forgot my memory card. So I'm filming this on my iPhone right now, but it's on the 4K app, so it should be pretty good quality. So looking up close, let's see if there's a difference. This actually is holding up really well because I normally pull back my bangs right here and my foundation kind of rubs off a little bit, and it's actually not really rubbed off a whole lot on that side. I feel like the difference is so minimal. I mean, both sides look pretty dang similar right now. So I'm just gonna switch out a bunch of product here and then head back home and start editing. Okay, so it's now almost exactly 11 p.m. So everything has been on for 11 hours. I am so tired right now. I feel like it's too bright. I've literally been working all day, just finished. So I am very excited to get into bed right now, but let's talk about how everything is looking. I feel like I look really oily right now, and I don't usually look this oily with this combination. So I'm gonna look up close and see if there's a difference. It's pretty rubbed off on my chin area because I was working like this. So my foundation is like totally rubbed off around my lip over here, but I don't think that has anything to do with the primer at all. I do feel like this side of my forehead maybe is a tiny bit less oily. You really can't tell unless you're like an inch away from my face. My pores look very shiny and oily on both sides right now. So as far as the primer, I don't see a noticeable difference between wearing it and not wearing it, at least with this foundation that I tried. But I do really like the concept of this. I like that it's black. And then the highlight held up really well. Totally held up on both sides of my face. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of these kinds of weird product testing videos, let me know which products you want to see. Love you guys. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye. Swear to God, this thing has a mind of its own. You just chill there. Great. Are you on? Yes.